Hugh Freeze said the same thing over and over and over again. I think we need to listen to him.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're dapping it up. Darrell, Dapprich, my partner in crime, hanging out with us live from SEC Media Days, our final show from Radio Row. Payton Thorne, Auburn quarterback, joins us in a few minutes. But Darrell, we're sitting down after Hugh Freeze just got off of the main stage, and he kind of called the media out a little bit. And he said the same thing over and over and over again, saying, like, y'all aren't talking about Jarquez Hunter. You're not talking about Auburn's running game. You're not talking about Damari Austin or Jeremiah Cobb, but whatever. Those guys don't care. They're going to be an effective group, and they're going to be one of the best running back groups, not only in the SEC, but the entire country.
I always find it very telling when a coach name drops about something when it's unsolicited. I had the opportunity to be in a little private media session with him earlier, and Jarquez Hunter was brought up by Hugh Freeze as well. And he said verbatim, I love that he's under the radar and nobody is talking about him. None of the media. Yeah. And he said, unless I'm mistaken, he's the leading returning rusher in the SEC. And I think that really speaks volumes about that running back room. We've talked about ratios and Hugh Freeze loving to throw it 55% of the time. But, Zach, here's what I believe. I believe you play to your strengths. Hugh Freeze seems to want to do that. And he knows that if having a solid running attack and running it, more than he normally does because of what you have in that running back room leads to victories, that's what he'll do.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. Like, what does Auburn need to do on offense better, significantly better than a year ago? And obviously, like, passing is part of that. But the key thing is they've got to stay on the field. I mean, they were so bad on third down, and they were so bad at getting first downs early in drives and early in games where it was just 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out, or maybe they get a first down and then they punt. I mean, it was just not great. They didn't sustain drives. And so how do you fix that? Well, you either make third downs more manageable, or you convert in third and shorts, or you obviously can convert in third and long in the passing game. But the most likely one of those is you make as many third downs manageable as possible. And you do that by winning the first and second down. And the easy way to do that is a successful running game with Jarquez Hunter and company.
Yeah, and last year it was for a different reason. Hugh Freeze admitted that he felt like he had a little bit of depth problem along the defensive line. So running the ball 60% of his offensive possessions allowed to keep his defense off the field. I think he knows, and we all know, that it can't be 60-40. There has to be some more proficiency through the passing game, and he'll get there. But again, if you have something that's elite, or you have a strength of your team that is probably as good as anybody in the best conference in America, and that's that running back room, and he mentioned all three by name, then you don't go away from it. And I think what that'll do, Zach, also think about how effective the passing game becomes in an RPO system if you're running it effective. You're going to look better. You're going to have a higher efficiency. You can't stack the box, the stacking the box thing, they may at some point have to stack the box, so you're going to have to throw it. I mean, I think they play off each other. And so you need to be able to throw efficiently, but if the running game sets that up, then you go with it because play action's always there.
And I do think there will be teams that say, hey, Payton, we don't think you can throw it. We're going to stack the box. Like, I do think that's going to be a situation that Auburn runs into this year. And I think they are now equipped to take advantage of that. I don't think they were a year ago. I think they will be this upcoming season. But yeah, the running back room, Hugh Freeze said it over and over and over again. It's like, y'all are underrating our backs, which I think is great. The other thing was the offensive line. I mean, he's really happy with this offensive line. The addition of Percy. He keeps saying Connor Lew, even though he's not ever really asked about him. He keeps finding a way to bring up the returning center. And then obviously Xavier Miller's taking that step forward. He didn't really say Dylan Wade's name, I don't think, but obviously scooting your left tackle into left guard is a win. And Jeremiah Wright's been here for forever. But just that entire situation up front is such a breath of fresh air, especially when you couple it with the fact that Auburn's running backs are that respected by their head coach.
It's a lethal combination. He didn't say it in the main media room, but he did mention that sliding Wade to guard makes the offensive line that much better. And he also has said twice that Connor Lew's a future NFL center. Now, look, for those that have struggled for years with offensive line recruiting and offensive line play at Auburn, is that not music to your ears that you have future NFL prospects on your offensive line right now? Not that they could play in the league right now, but you know they're projected to be in the league. You combine that, like you said, with a lethal running attack. And again, I feel like that's going to open up so much downfield, so much for Cam Coleman to take the top off the defense. Payton Thorne will be more comfortable. And listen, while we're talking about the offensive line and we're talking about the running game, he also did mention that there is still a plan to let Payton utilize his legs because he felt like it was effective.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good runner a year ago. No question about it. I don't think they're going to lock that down by any stretch of the imagination. But all in all, I think Hugh Freeze, I think he was solid on the big stage, on the main stage, kind of making his return trip, his second year here now as Auburn's head coach. He was asked a lot of questions. Some of them were pretty odd questions, but he was asked a question by Dukes of On 3, specifically about Damari Alston. And he said the first word that came to mind was leader. He's a leader, and gave him credit. He's like, Jarquez is kind of the lead back, but Damari's the leader because Jarquez is kind of that quiet, soft-spoken guy who, works his tail off. But Damari is the vocal guy, which makes sense, right? I mean, we talked about how great of a recruiter Damari was when he was a recruit, and he recruited more than the previous head coach did. And it's nice to kind of see that that's still recognized and appreciated, Darrell.
He said that he was on the leadership council that Hugh Freeze has that helps with culture and climate. If anything needs to be said in the running back room that Hugh Freeze wants to send a message through a player, he delivers that through Damari Alston. He's the one that will speak up. And then he said, oh, by the way, he's a heck of a football player. And again, that's when he lit up like a firecracker and said, I feel like we got three of the best backs and then no one's talking about them, and that's fine. So a lot of pleasant things from a leadership standpoint we heard in this Auburn Media Day today.
Yeah. So there was also a coach that was brought up several times that isn't being discussed enough. And I want to talk about that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is the best place to buy tickets for anything. We went to the Home Run Derby while we were here in Dallas earlier this week. Pull it up, cheapest options available. And, I mean, it was just so quick. And we bought them the day before. I mean, it was kind of an impromptu thing like we talk about in these reads. And it was a blast. So shout out to Game Time.
Absolutely. We got a lightning deal is what we got to get to sit where we did to watch a little Home Run Derby. And the process was so simple. Spontaneity and buying tickets like that, that's really underrated.
No question about it. So make sure you have the free Game Time app. Download it. And when you make your account, use promo code LOCKEDONCollege, you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. A name that we hear whenever Freeze kind of talks about his staff and the processes in place and the offense for an extended amount of time that we probably haven't given enough credit for is Kent Austin, who has now been promoted to an on-field coach, coaching quarterbacks. But he just gives so much praise and so much recognition to Kent Austin. And Hank Brown, who comes on the show a ton, talks about him. I think Payton highlights him in the next segment. But Kent Austin is a guy, like we talk about Derek Nix coming over, but I think we need to talk about Kent Austin's promotion in the same breath when we do that moving forward.
It's a great point. He mentioned him numerous times about being his quarterback guru. He gave him credit for the development of Malik Willis. He said most people wanted to credit him, but Ken Austin's the guy. He believes in him so much, Zach, that when Auburn gets in 3rd and long, that's the play caller, Ken Austin. So and hopefully Auburn doesn't get in 3rd and long a lot, and he's not calling plays.
But Auburn will get in 3rd and long.
How much
and those
faith,
are big plays.
They're big plays. And so how much faith do you have to have in somebody to say 3rd and long, I'm turning over the play calling sheet to you?
I love it.
And the fact that he's on the field now, I think Auburn's going to see a noticeable difference in the development of Payton Thorne because of Kent Austin being able to be on the field.
Yeah, I mean, apparently the way Kent Austin sees the game, and Freeze always refers to it as wisdom and knowledge, but he usually says wisdom. I think that's what we should look at when people talk about, okay, what's the next step for Payton Thorne? And it's like, well, if he's getting to spend more time with Coach Austin, it seems like the next step could be something similar to what they did with Malik Willis at Liberty.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that the terminology Payton Thorne is very comfortable with between Derek Nix, Kent Austin, and Hugh Freeze. He's already comfortable with that. He's been given weapons that he's more comfortable with, and he's in the system another year. I think all those things are very, very important for people to understand. It's not just one thing. It's numerous things is why he's getting talked about to make that leap and to make that improvement. Now, we have to see it on the field. There's still a lot of unbelievers, and I get it. But I just know that there are things in place right now, 3 that I just mentioned, that should really, really help contribute to us seeing a different Payton Thorne.
Yeah, and I asked Payton about this next segment, but like the communication that's in place now versus a year ago, it just sounds substantially different, like not even comparable for what they were going through a year ago versus what's happening now. Now, some of it is like, how did Freeze let it be that bad a year ago? Which, I think Charlie Five said this, where it's like, it kind of made it seem like they wanted Philip Montgomery to be the fall guy and the bad guy. And like the reason the offense was so bad. And so they were able to purge that. That's kind of what it felt like to me towards the end of the season. So maybe it was strategic or political, but the fact of the matter is, every level of it, it seems like it's fixed and it's changed. And so now if it doesn't work, like there's a clear place you can point, and that's at the top.
Well, the first question he was asked in the main media room was what he felt like the biggest change was. And he mentioned, it got out of his mouth quickly, the continuity and the chemistry of this staff, how well they get along, how long they've known each other. And then it trickles down to the players. The players can feel it and the players can sense it. So, look, maybe the reason why he let it get that bad is because he was so focused on being in the big recruiting room and getting studs in there. And that can happen. Yeah. You only have so much attention. You only have so much that you can divide your time with. And he knew he had to build this roster starting with high school recruiting because he mentioned that's what he prefers. He's got to get better navigating the portal. And so maybe him doing that, he left some of that stuff unchecked. And I think he learned a lesson, and he addressed it immediately in the offseason.
Were you surprised how hard he was on himself for like his ability of navigating the portal recruitment? I mean, he was kind of hard on himself, saying like he hadn't really figured that out yet. But you look at it 2 years ago, they were the number 2 portal class, and that's only because Colorado added like 60 guys. Then last year, I think they were 9th.
Yeah, that shocked me because if you're 2nd and 9th, I mean, you're in the top 10. Why would you think you're having to navigate? It sounds like to me you're doing a pretty good job. Maybe he's using other people to do that. Maybe he's not as involved in it hands-on, and so he is delegated and said, this isn't my strength. This needs to be your strength. Do it. He made a joke in the media room before about Will Redmond. He said, I reached out to him about 5 minutes ago and texted him and said, okay, it's been a while since we got a recruit. Get on it. So, he said he's doing a good job, and he's like, okay, we've got a little lull. And he admits that. I love the transparency where he feels like there's a little bit of a 2-week, 3-week lull there, but he feels pretty confident that things are about to change.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Big Cat Weekend's right around the corner, and so it feels like they're treading water until, I guess, next weekend, where they're going to have a lot of guys on campus. So
we might be very busy next weekend if we kind of have to do some impromptu live things, right?
I hope we are busy.
I am too.
I hope
ready.
we are busy.
I'm sitting on go, brother.
No question. No question. All right, coming up, Auburn quarterback Payton Thorne joins us right here on Locked On Auburn. So I imagine going into this fall camp feels way different than a year ago.
It does. It's a big difference. Comfortable with where I'm at. Get to know the people I'm around, get to know the place, know where I'm going, and it's exciting. I think we got a chance to be a really good team this year.
Obviously, the energy around one of your newest receivers, Cam Coleman, is the highest I've ever seen around a receiver at Auburn. I mean, what's it like adding this guy to the offense?
It's been great. First and foremost, he's a good guy. He's fun to hang around. I've had a chance to get to know him really well, and works hard. And those two things are huge. And to start with that, you can take things a long ways. And so, I'm excited to play with him this year. Obviously, I'll only be with him for 1 year, and then I'll have to be here for 2 more. But I'd be shocked if he's here for more than 2 years after that.
Yeah,
sure. So, really excited about him and excited about his future.
Yeah. And obviously Perry didn't get to go through spring, but he's going to be a big part of the offense as we hear Eugene Asante yelling, "Let's work." How much are you working with him? I mean, is there kind of a little bit of, I won't say pressure, but like urgency to get him involved in the offense since he missed spring?
Yeah. Obviously it's not, you'd love to have spring, and obviously he did not have spring. And so it's a lot harder. He's, learning the plays, trying to learn the playbook. And then, I told people a long time ago, at the end of the day, a freshman is still a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to come in and compete at this level as a freshman. And so there's little things, little route running things. Sometimes guys are just that much better in high school where they can get away with things that you're not going to get away with in college. And so, for Perry, I know he's a hard worker. I know he's going to keep doing what he needs to do. And, he's going to keep progressing. And I think he'll have a chance to get on the field this year and make some plays.
And then another guy who didn't go through spring, Keandre Lambert-Smith. I mean, is that the kind of thing where as soon as you get the news, you're like, okay, let me reach out to this guy. Let me start throwing him some balls and kind of build that rapport. Is that what the process looks like?
Yeah, I hardly even – I was like caught off guard about him. I went to dinner with him when he was here, and so I got to know him a little bit then. But that was kind of the first time I'd heard about that we were talking with him. And so we went out, we had dinner. It was a good time there. And then a couple of days later, he committed. I'm like, holy cow. And my dad had texted me, hey, this guy, he's guy's
good.
Legit.
Yeah.
He's a real player. And so I went and watched this film right away too. And I'm like, heck yeah, this guy is legit. And, I just took 1 or 2 times to throw with him to realize, he's a real deal.
Mm-hmm.
He's great off the line. He has a lot of experience. He knows what it takes. He understands space and how to get open. And that's huge. And so I think he's going to have a chance to make a lot of plays this year and get in the end zone quite a bit.
When you meet with these portal guys, I mean, how much of it is just truly getting to know them, and how much of it is, man, if you came here, it'd be so great for the offense. It'd be really fun to throw to you. How much of it is it like just getting to know them, or versus, hey, maybe you should come here?
Absolutely. You got to get to know them a little bit.
Yeah.
Get to feel them out, know who you're dealing with, especially with receivers. Receivers can be a different cat sometimes. And so you can get a wide range.
Careful,
of
Payton.
receivers.
Careful.
For sure. And so he was great. I thought we had a good time. I can't remember all who was there, but it was a decent little group of coaches and recruiting people that were there. And so I had a good time with that. But then also, it's a recruiting pitch. You're not saying, hey, here's my list of everything I've done. And this, it's not like that, but it is. You do have to sprinkle in, hey, I play with some legit receivers. I've seen what it takes. And, I have been throwing the guys the balls that are at the next level and are having a chance to do really well at the next level. So, there's definitely a recruiting pitch to that.
Yeah. Is this group closer to the kind of the guys that you threw to at Michigan State?
No question.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah. Just as far as guys that have made the transition to the league, when you look at some of these transfer player guys.
Yeah. I play with 3 NFL guys, I believe, at Michigan State. Started with Jalen Naylor. I think was the first guy to get drafted. He went in the 5th or 6th round.
Forgot about him. Yeah.
Jaden Reed, and went in the 2nd round. I think his 50th overall pick, and then Keon Coleman was the first pick of the 2nd round this year. So worked a ton with those guys. Friends with all those guys, especially super close with Jaden, and then really close with Keon as well. And so I'm able to say, you're able to say that. I have relationships with guys who are doing it. What all of our dream is play at the next level. And so.
Right.
I'd say there's a lot of similarities between those guys and the guys we have right now.
Communication throughout the offense. I mean, it sounds like it's way better than it was at this point a year ago. Would you say that's fair?
Extremely fair.
Yeah. Is that just Freeze being more involved with it than he was a year ago? Is it Derek Nix just kind of putting his spin on it? What all goes into that?
Yeah, it's Coach Freeze for sure, and then also Coach Nix as well, coming in and bringing a lot of things that he knows and has learned over all his years of coaching, and just his mentality, his urgency, his attention to detail, and just all the things that go into winning. There's a lot more that goes into winning than people think. And so having both of those guys really being super involved and saying that this is our offense. This is what we are doing, and we're going to get all this figured out. We're going to get all the little details figured out, and then we're going to roll. And so it's been a huge, huge difference.
The first day of spring, when you're standing back there, and to your left, you see big old Percy Lewis, and to your right, you see Too Tall at right tackle. I mean, not many quarterbacks in the SEC have two tackles that are that big and that athletic. That's got to feel good.
Yeah, it feels good for sure. Percy's like the biggest human I think I've ever seen.
How does he move like that? Being that big, it's insane.
I know. And Too Tall is really impressive, the way he moves. You watch film, and I watch our offensive linemen. I'm not just watching everybody else. I'll check in and see what they're doing too. And I think Too Tall's got one of the best first steps in pass pro that I've seen. And so he's been excellent. He's working his butt off. Yesterday at our workout, or what was it, 2 days ago, he was killing it. And so I'm really happy with what those guys are doing. And Percy, Coach Dom, our strength coach, one of his little boys came in the other day to the weight room, and he picked him up, and Percy was right there. He walked him over. And that little kid was probably like, what in the world is this human looking at me? He was so scared. So
how is he that big?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But yeah, Percy's awesome and humongous.
Yeah. I know you're a big golfer. How's your golf game going these days?
It's going good right now. I'm back on track. I haven't golfed nearly as much this summer as I have in the past.
Yeah.
I've been at the facility for a long time. And so
what course do you go to the most around here?
I go to the AAU club, and that's my main place I go.
When you go, do you golf with guys on the team?
For sure. Yep.
Who do you go with?
There's a number of guys. Yesterday we were playing with, it was me, Hank, Jackson Barkley, John Colvin, and Will Upton. Got a good little
every time I open Instagram, Hank is posting stuff at the golf course. Like, he's always golfing. Is he good?
He's pretty good. He's probably, I think he's a 9 handicap right now. So that was what he played yesterday.
Okay.
So he's going to put his score in, and we'll see if he's still a 9, and we'll roll off that next time.
Who's the best golfer on the team? Is it you?
I would love to take the cake. Alec McPherson has something to say with that.
Really? Okay.
But we haven't played this summer, me and him. We're tied 2-2. We played 4 times together. I won't beat him twice. He beat me twice.
Sounds like y'all need to figure that out before fall camp.
Exactly. We got a rubber match coming soon.
Yeah. Well, hey, best of luck this season, man. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much to Payton for his time, and Darrell, thank you so much to you for hanging out with me here in Dallas all week.
Loved it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for bringing me. Really enjoyed this. Really did.
Yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. We'll have more SEC Media Days content. We should have more stuff that we haven't posted yet that'll go up this afternoon. So be sure to click the like button. Please subscribe, and we'll see you then. This has been Locked On Auburn.